For Louisiana versus all y'all, Jarrett Roser here with Amite High kicker, punter, senior standout on the state championship Warriors team this year, Liam Adamson. And I was just telling Liam it's been a long time that I've wanted to chat with him for one of these Louisiana versus all y'all videos because his story is really fantastic and interesting, and he's worked into one of the top specialists in the state, and now he's a member of that state championship team. So a lot to talk about, Liam. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, for sure.
How has life been around town and around Tangipahoa Parish? I know this was a championship. It wasn't the school's first. It wasn't the school's first in recent years, but it was one that this group was extremely hungry for after the way last season wound down.
Yeah, everywhere you go, walking around, people tell you congratulations. It's been 2 or 3 weeks ago. People are still talking about it. It's crazy. I love being around here.
I had a chance to come spend some time with y'all a couple times in the spring and summer, and it was pretty evident that after falling in that quarterfinal last year, it was pretty immediate that you guys, especially the senior group, were already talking about what needed to happen in the offseason and ultimately how you wanted to finish your high school careers on this positive note and bring a trophy back. Take me through some of that, just some of the emotions and frustrations with the way that ended and how much that fueled the work effort this offseason.
Yeah, last year, I mean, we definitely felt like we should have won, and that was that was very evident through even the spring. The spring, everybody saw it coming. We knew what was there, and we knew who was in front of us, and we just worked for it. We've been talking about it even since freshman year. Our senior year, we had to go out with it. So that's it.
I was going to ask when you kind of realized that this group was going to be a state championship type team and when it was going to all come together. It sounds like there wasn't ever really a whole lot of doubt.
No, not at all. I mean, just since freshman year, since I walked in there, since we had JaVale walk in there, since people started looking at JMO, it's always been there.
You guys have to deal with some of Hurricane Ida as it made its way further inland and came through y'all's neck of the woods, lost some games there. There was an issue where you had another game taken from y'all forfeit-wise, and so a lot of potential adversity to have to deal with and stick together and weather both a literal storm as well as, some other things. What were some of those weeks like, as there are high expectations for this group, but suddenly there's curveballs coming left and right, and just, I guess, what was it like as seniors to keep things going full steam ahead, and what were the coaches talking to you guys about during that stretch?
Well, yeah, definitely during Ida, nobody had power, so a lot of us we were trying to keep contact. Coaches were trying to text us, so everybody's kind of worried. But I mean, we were all trying to get back on the field, but we didn't know really the schedule at that point. And then moving on to when they took away some of the games, we were a little disappointed, but we knew we still were on track. We still were gonna have to play the same teams we'd have to play before. We just had to play them sooner. So I mean, it didn't really affect us too much. We all ready.
And the team that was waiting at the end of all this was you guys head down to the Superdome and those Manny Tigers, the reigning 2A champions who knocked y'all out in that really close quarterfinal game. Imagining y'all were A, not surprised that was who was waiting, and B, were kind of excited to have that chance at them.
Yeah, we were definitely excited. We were talking about that. They had people coming up to me beginning of the season and asking us if we were ready for Manny. We knew what they were going to do. So, I mean, it was I don't think we were really fearful. We just knew what was going to happen. So, yeah.
I feel like we talk a lot to, I guess, offensive and defensive guys about, how do you feel when the game plays out this way, and what's it like as a player in those settings? For you as a specialist, when you're involved in this game where both teams are kind of slugging back and forth defensively and it's tough to get points, and then it makes your punting for field position that much bigger, and then that field goal at the end of the half, and what you're able to do kicking the ball through the uprights. As a guy that's sitting on the sideline and waiting for those opportunities, when you see how pivotal that can be, what is that like on that big stage too?
At that point, I like the pressure. So when I see stuff going on, you think in your head, what's about to happen. So, I mean, I was happy the coaches put me out there for the field goal. And so, I just had to do my job.
You had earlier in the game, you had a punt that I'm sure you would have loved to have back. It wasn't one of your better punts. It got away from you a little bit. And then you come back and you have the punt that sets up the field goal where you down at I think the 2-yard line. It gets
Yeah.
down or goes out of bounds. After the one that didn't go well, what is your process as you get back to the sideline and are thinking about it, knowing that there's going to be another opportunity here pretty soon?
Yeah, as soon as I got back to the sideline, all the coaches were asking me like, "What happened?" I just tried to tap it. So the next one, I just made sure I put a little bit more oomph on it, just to make sure, and just try to put it close to the sideline. But that was the game plan going into the game. That if we were back behind the 50, they were gonna give it to Smitty and let him punt. If we're inside the 50, it was gonna be me. So it was there before the game happened. But just had to follow through.
As the second half goes and your offense is able to add some more points to that effort and stretch the lead a little bit, y'all were up 17-0 at one point. The defense continues to pitch that shutout until late when the game is pretty out of Manny's reach. What is the energy like on the sideline, just feeling it, tasting it, get that much closer to knowing the big trophy's coming home?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, around 6 minutes in, you see coaches start to hug each other, and that's when it really hit. Is right there. And you start to get a little bit of emotions. No, it's a great feeling though.
I mentioned you individually have that interesting story, and we go back to freshman year. The first time I saw you, you get knocked out of a state championship game on a roughing penalty play, and everyone is kind of holding their breath a little bit and not sure how serious it was. And it was a process for you to work back from that. And I knew that you, throughout your career, you wanted to get back to the Superdome and have that opportunity to help the team and walk off on your own terms, sort of thing. Take me through some of that. I mean, even going back to that game as a freshman, what that moment was like, how scary that was, what the process was like to get back, and what kind of drove you to get to where you got back to, both as an individual talent for that team and, I mean, again, to get to a state championship game and do what you're able to do for the team as a whole.
Yeah, freshman year, it was a pretty simple year for me. Just extra points here and there. We had a high scoring offense. It wasn't much anything else. Getting to the game, they had hit me like the third time, I believe. Went down. Everything was kind of wild after that. You look down, your legs crooked. But then we had surgery that night. Came back, and they told me it was gonna be about 3-4 month process. And then 3-4 months later, it ended up being 8 to 9 month process. Just working back from that. My freshman year, I was spending 5-6 hours a day watching film, kicking, looking at other stuff, just trying to fix everything. So I had to basically restart that whole process and start from scratch, and so get my strength back up. So I spent a lot of time. Sophomore year was a blur, and coming back to my junior year, I just spent a lot of time working. Eventually got back to doing everything. Started doing kickoffs my junior year, and this year, it was just adding on to that, even just getting more in the weight room, and getting back to the dome was definitely my goal from the jump. I told all the trainers 2 weeks before the game, I said, no matter what happens, I'm staying on the field. Like, whatever I got to do, y'all can wrap it up, whatever. I don't care if it's crooked or what. Like, I got to finish the game. So that was always my goal. And my goal was always also to get in the picture, and I'm pretty sure every team picture you can see at the end of the game, I'm pretty sure you can find me somewhere. So, yeah.
Some of what you just said kind of speaks to what I was going to ask next. And, talking to your teammates and coaches and some of the parents around the team and everything. I mean, you're a punter and you're a kicker, but I think sometimes, especially on some kickoffs and things like that, you maybe feel like you're a linebacker running around out there. You're competitive. You like to hit someone in the opportunities that present themselves here and there. And so through some of that process of being sidelined, I imagine that was pretty frustrating for you, especially as the timeline stretched. What was that process like for you from a mental standpoint? How were some of those conversations with, mom and dad and coaches and teammates, just to try and kind of keep chugging along and get back to where you are?
Yeah, coming into high school, I was playing 3-4 sports a year. So after that game, I was stuck. I couldn't do anything. I could play baseball, I could play basketball, couldn't run track. So it was extremely tough for me. As a guy who's been playing soccer since he was 4, not being able to use your leg it's different. So I was very happy once I got back to being able to even walk. So it was a very tough process, especially mentally. I would say that was the hardest part, honestly. It wasn't really the physical stuff; it was the mental stuff. There's many nights where you're waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, just looking around, just thinking about what happened, just replaying that play over and over again. So yeah.
Yeah. And so here we are again. You wind it up. You walked off under your own power. You didn't have to deal with the crooked leg being wrapped up or anything. You got to walk off in the bright shoes that everyone was impressed with for the state
Yeah.
championship. And now you head into spring semester and are figuring out what's next after you finish up high school. You're a guy that has had a chance to get to some camps. You've really worked your tail off getting your info out to colleges all over the country and have had a chance to build some relationships there. What are you kind of looking at over the next few months? What are some of the conversations you're having and things you're weighing and maybe some things that you're still hoping can fall into place?
Yeah, definitely. Right after the game, I was talking to a bunch of D2 schools, still talking to some FCS schools, talked to a few FBS schools. I'm really just looking at all my options. Hopefully I have some visits coming up. Talk to, I think, Mississippi College and Arkansas Tech want me to go visit. So, yeah, I'm definitely hoping something else falls into place. But, I'm just working with the process. I'm still making sure I'm improving myself first. And then just hoping everything falls in line.
What do you hope that college coaches know about you or get to know about you as you have some of those conversations and send out your information? Who are you as both a kicker and a young man that they need to realize is available and interested in joining a program?
Well, I really just want them to know, I'm not going to quit. Whatever I got to do, whatever I got to go through, whoever that I have to outwork, I'm willing to do. I'm there to do. So yeah.
And I mentioned you worked hard not only with the rehab process and on your game, but in getting your name out there for any younger players who come up the years behind you and are they feel like they're kind of banging their head against the wall a little bit, trying to get some momentum recruiting wise. What would be your biggest advice to them in terms of just how to get out there in that process?
First, before I answer that question, I want to say thank you. We had my kicking coaches really helped me through that in the beginning, Coach Brian Jackson and Jeff Garner. But yeah, going through that though, the biggest thing is make sure you're doing it for you, because a lot of people like to wait on the coaches, like to wait on other players to like kind of help them move them along. But you really just got to do it yourself. Email coaches, text coaches. Twitter is the best tool to use. I really do believe. Every visit I've had has come through Twitter. Is me messaging a coach or something like that. So yeah, just be patient and put the work in on that side, not just the physical aspect.
Maybe by the end of all this, you get an NIL deal with Twitter. That was a pretty good pitch for the usefulness of that app.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Liam, appreciate you, man.
Sure.
It's been a pleasure watching you the last few years and bouncing back and having the type of year you had as a senior, and been a pleasure being around the program and seeing the things that y'all have been able to accomplish as this group finishes up their high school careers.
Yeah, appreciate that.
You got it. Again, he's Liam Adamson, the standout kicker and punter for that Amite High team, the Class 2A state champions this year once again. And for Louisiana versus all y'all, Jarrett Roser.